Welcome everyone to Engage in Trade, Export Planning Tools for Strategic Business Growth. I'm excited about today's webinar. I am Susan Spitz, Manager of International Business Development here at the World Trade Center St. Louis. We're really pleased that you could join us today for this deep dive into export planning. We have two speakers today. Our main presenter is an expert on international trade and works throughout the entire state of Missouri, helping companies to really get strategic about exporting. And we also have a special guest and colleague of mine at the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, which is our parent organization, and she is an SBDC counselor. So she's going to give you an overview of the Small Business Development Center services, and those can be in place to help you grow sustainably, even if you're not ready for the international portion. So we're very excited to get going here on this webinar. Just a couple of housekeeping rules to let you know about. All participants are muted for the duration of the presentation, but if you wish to ask questions, please do so using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Do not use the chat button, use the Q&A button, and we will do our best to get to those questions at the end of the presentation. Also, the slides and a recording of this presentation and any links that are going to be dropped into the chat will be available just a few days after this webinar is completed. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the Deputy Director of the World Trade Center St. Louis, Ms. Stella Sheehan. Stella has been involved with the World Trade Center for over 18 years, and she leads our trade team and is also serving as our webmaster today. Stella also heads up our Executive Certificate in International Trade online export training, which is kicking off in January of this year. She is overseeing our 16 sister cities and is the executive producer of our signature event, Growing Global. Born and raised in Ireland, Stella has lived, worked, and studied extensively in international markets, including Belgium, France, Italy, and the UK. She holds a BA in French and Italian from the National University of Ireland at Galway and a master's in applied languages for business from the University of Ulster at Coleraine in Northern Ireland. And she's a graduate of Leadership St. Louis and serves on the Missouri District Export Council. And she works very closely with our executive director, Tim Nowak, who is in our audience today. And Stella will now give an overview of World Trade Center St. Louis's work and introduce our speakers. So over to you, Stella.
Thank you, Susan, for that gracious introduction. And thanks to all of you for joining us this morning for this practical session on export planning, something we can all benefit from no matter how long you've been involved in the export business. I'm also very excited to introduce both of our speakers today, two of the best in the business who I'm honored to call colleagues. As Susan mentioned, I lead the trade side of the house, and we like to say at the World Trade Center that we have three main pillars: people, trade, and investment, the three key equal ingredients which make up a global city. The people side consists of our 16 sister cities and perhaps our most well-known initiative, the St. Louis Mosaic Project, headed up by my colleague Suzanne Sierra. And that is an initiative to attract foreign-born to the region and assist them by way of programming and networking once they get here. The trade side, of course, provides companies with the tools they need to trade internationally by way of counseling, referrals to our federal and state partners, and organizing educational events like the one you're attending this morning. Last but certainly not least, our foreign direct investment, or FDI pillar, is led by my colleague Sean Mullins, who assists companies around the globe who may be interested in setting up their North American base in the region, or simultaneously assisting foreign companies who've already chosen St. Louis and wish to expand and continue to invest here. And now to the introduction of our speakers. So Leslie Fisher. Leslie is the Director of International Trade at the Missouri Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, as it's more commonly known. In this role, Leslie assists clients to develop their export plans, provides export education, and makes connections to additional export assistant entities and trade opportunities. Prior to joining SBDC, Leslie worked as an international marketing specialist for the Missouri Department of Agriculture and as an international trade specialist for the Missouri Department of Economic Development. Leslie holds a master's degree in global management from Fordham Gabelli School of Business and a Bachelor of Science in journalism from the University of Kansas. And I should also mention that Leslie is a fellow Missouri District Export Council member. So always good to have Leslie with us on the training sessions. Her colleague, Colleen Mulvihill, is the SBD Business Counselor at the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, which is the parent division of the World Trade Center. She assists regional small business owners with business planning, startup and growth strategies, and connections to valuable resources. Colleen has experience in operations, sales, customer service, and startup management. A St. Louis native, she holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from UMSL and an MBA degree from Fontbonne University. And if you get a chance to meet with Colleen, you should also ask her about her stand-up routine. So no pressure, Colleen. Over to you.
Oh my goodness, that is a hard one to follow. Okay, Stella, I wasn't prepared for that. Um, so welcome everyone. I'm Colleen Mulvihill. I'm honored to be here and get to tell you a little bit about what we do at the Small Business Development Centers of Missouri. So as I work very closely with both Stella and Susan and Leslie within the World Trade Center and the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, my role is really to work very closely with my clients, you, the entrepreneurs, and the small business owners. And I have the opportunity to then work with you both one-on-one and with some business counseling and help you mainly with your business planning, your strategic planning, and really getting you prepared for your next steps. And if that is in the realm of international trade and exportation, hopefully I'm going to be there to help you with getting to that role, to that place of going down that path for you. So I have the pleasure of working closely with Leslie with clients. And what we do is also offer a lot of different training options for you over a lot of different topics for small business owners, including, how to read your financial statements and business planning, of course. Just kind of startup help and all different kinds of topics, marketing, etc. So I look forward to working with you as well as Leslie to say, hey, here's where you might be right now in your path, in your journey toward international trade and exportation. And hopefully I can help you get there quicker, faster, and also connect you to a lot of different resources in St. Louis that maybe you just don't know about yet. So with that, I will pass on the baton to Leslie, our amazing international trade director.
Well, thank you so much, Colleen, and thank you for the warm introduction, Stella and Susan. I'm super happy to be here today and just grateful to be in front of you and get the opportunity to talk about how we really help companies become export ready and some of the tools we have in place to assist. So today we'll be talking about primarily three tools. The first is our export readiness assessment. We'll spend the bulk of our time talking about that. And the second is the feedback and strategies and resources that we give you after taking the export readiness assessment in the form of an export strategy development document. And then the third is our export business planning software that we have created at the SBDC to really help you take everything that you get your feedback from the readiness assessment and put it directly into that export business planning tool, and allows you the opportunity to further tweak and hone that information specific to your business to make sure that you are dotting all of the I's and crossing all of the T's when planning your export business journey. So we will begin here with our export readiness assessment. I will share my screen to get going here. Okay, so you should be seeing our export readiness assessment.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Susan. So really, this is, I'll start by saying this is an assessment. It is not a pass or fail test. All of the information that you input is kept completely confidential and is stored within our Missouri SBDC internal client relationship management system and is only accessible by people like myself and Colleen, who are employed at the Missouri SBDC, and we never share any of the information collected with anyone outside of our entity without your express written permission. So I always want to highlight that just from the jump. So really we'll just begin going through this. We ask for some basic kind of contact information. And this just helps us ensure that we have up-to-date information on your company and how to contact you regarding your assessment. So then diving into the meat of the assessment, we first ask about, does your company have an established and profitable domestic market for your products or services? And this question just helps us understand where you are in your U.S. sales. If you're finding buyers at home, most likely with good market research, we're able to find similar and interested partners abroad. However, if you're just beginning and you have not found a good market locally, or you're still testing your proof of concept, it's always best to do that at home domestically before taking on the additional hurdles of exporting internationally. So again, this just kind of helps us know where you are in your domestic sales to know to level set, and so we have that information moving forward. Similarly, we ask about your current sales outreach. So this just, again, helps us understand if you have experience with longer shipping routes, accommodating different state laws even, and if opportunities exist for you here, like some lower hanging fruit for you to scale your business domestically. Similarly, we ask about your distribution, your distribution processes. And this just helps us understand, the experience that you have working with sales agents or distributors to get your product to market, as these are really vital when you're looking to reach customers in different regions of the world, time zones with particular market entry strategies that are dissimilar to your immediate local market. Next, we ask about market research and strategic planning for your business. I always say you would never take a trip, either business or personal, without doing some basic market research to kind of know what it is you're getting into, if it's a good use of your time. And similarly, you would not want to expand internationally without having done some of that basic market research first. And it's okay if that is not something that you usually do, but we are able to help pull market research for you that can really help inform you from the beginning, to make sure you're not wasting time or going down a wrong path that otherwise we want to make sure that we're always looking out for your best interest. And so starting with that market research is always where we like to start. Sorry, I think I scrolled a little too far, but here we're asking about the extent to which you advertise and promote your products. And this just gets at your experience promoting your brand. There will be many differences to consider when promoting your brand internationally, and it's just made easier if you have a defined brand strategy domestically. Similarly, with the ease of visibility made possible through the internet, even if you are not planning on going internationally, a lot of times potential clients are checking out your brand, whether or not you know it. So that's just a good thing we like to just understand where you are in your advertising strategy. Similarly, we like to ask about your current managers or staff have their experience exporting. And this just helps us to know, what internal resources you have at your disposal that, are good things to leverage. And then also what opportunities for training or in some cases outsourcing exist. Similarly, we ask about if you've received any unsolicited distribution requests or inquiries from foreign buyers. And while this is not required to go internationally, it does help us know, if there is a preliminary market potential from certain areas and kind of what a strategy would look like building out based on where you're already getting that interest from. And it can help us, further tailor your market research as well. Then we ask about your ability to fill any new export orders from your present inventory or other sources. And this just really helps us understand your current capacity for new orders. In most cases, when you're going internationally, the size of your orders will need to be able to offset logistics and partnership costs associated with international sales. And this is an indication of whether or not expansion needs to take place prior to pursuing international markets at home, and different financing options that are available to you if you are planning to grow in order to export. Then we talk about, how you would handle new or additional export business within your organization. And this just helps us understand how you're planning to operationalize your international sales. And if you don't have an answer to this, that's okay as well. But we want to get you in the mindset of, thinking what facets of my business will be impacted. I'll give you a hint, it's many when going internationally, and just really thinking through how are you planning to make this happen within your own company? And then here we ask about your current status of exporting. And, even if you have just exported a few times, maybe to a very similar market like Canada, this helps us to know, what experience you have. And even preliminary experience is helpful when thinking through, what your long-term export strategy is going to be. And like I said, this just helps us level set and know where you are in your current international journey. Next, we ask about your management's commitment to exporting as a new or expanded area or activity. And really, you're going to need to have management commitment from the beginning. But if you don't have management commitment, then we know, okay, well, then we're still in the phases of, building that pitch, pulling that market research that shows where there is potential and helping you there without going too far down the road, because you'll never want to get into international trade without having your leadership on board. Then we ask about your budget for exporting. And again, wherever you answer on this scale is fine, but it just helps us understand, kind of what do those first years of exporting look like, and what are resources or tools within your that are available to you that make the most sense based on your budget. The next two questions we ask are about your financial stability and the budgeting and financial management processes that are in place at your company. And, having 3 years of a track record of financial stability not only shows that you have the organizational skills to collect financial data in order to examine fluctuations that come with going internationally, but again, it shows us that you have experience running a sound business. I always say, the best thing that you can do before going internationally is to make sure that you are running a well-oiled machine at home. And this is a key part in understanding, if there are any areas of your business that need to be strengthened. A lot of times we can tell that from your cash flow and your budgeting and financial management processes. This next question is a feeder question that is also kind of getting at, if there are any areas that you can boost your bottom line through either energy, productivity, or waste assessments that are done of your facility. That can be a good way to, from the beginning, before understanding, what your bottom line looks like. If there are opportunities for savings, there is a organization that we partner with at the University of Missouri that is able to do assessments of this nature and kind of uncover additional cost saving opportunities that are already within your company that you might just not have known about. So that's also a feeder question to that entity as well. And then similarly, we ask about your company's long-term expansion strategy and whether exporting is a part of that. As you can imagine, going internationally, like I said, even for a trip, is not an overnight venture. And similarly, export sales are a long game activity. And so we want to make sure that this is something that you are planning for in the long term and not just a whim you're kind of thinking about at the moment. And if it is, that's okay. But we can also help you kind of build that case to make sure that it is formally being integrated into your longer term expansion strategy. And then here we're asking about your company's, if you have a formal documented export plan with defined goals and strategies. And, it's in your best interest to have a plan, not only for your internal organization, organizational operations, but also to present to bankers if you're seeking financing, or to state trade partners like the Missouri Department of Economic Development's International Trade and Investment Office that offers international marketing reimbursement. They want to, in both cases, both financiers and through the International Trade and Investment Office, they want to make sure that you have a sound plan in place, that you're going to be able to leverage a healthy return on that investment. And that is also why we've developed the export business planning software that we'll go into in a little bit. And here we're kind of doubling down on your leadership commitment, but it is just truly that important. And we want to let you know, even just from the beginning, that you need to have your leadership on board, understanding that it'll take not only dedicated staff, but time and resources to the export process. And here we're asking about how long your management is willing to wait to achieve acceptable export results. And again, this just gets at the notion that that exporting is not an overnight venture, and that it can take years in some cases to develop and really move your export strategy to the point that you're getting export results. And we just kind of want to set that expectation from the beginning. And here we ask about your specific company's goals for exporting, and this helps us in myriad ways just to understand exactly what it is that you're looking to get out of your export venture, and pull market research that will help you in that endeavor, along with additional resources and strategy to help you there. Let's see, I'm just checking my notes to make sure I'm on the right spot here. Okay. And then we ask about your what countries that you currently have customers in. And as you'll see, these questions are required, and this helps us to, again, with our benchmarking, to understand where you are when you come in with our program and how we can help you grow. And so similarly, we're going to be checking your gross revenue, because if you are contributing to your, if you're getting positive international sales, that will contribute to your overall gross revenue. And then we ask about your export related revenue as well. And it's okay if, this is your first time exporting, or you haven't exported at all, obviously your gross export related revenue will be $0. But again, this just helps us to see how we can help you and where you were from the beginning, and how it helps us track any milestones that we're achieving together. And then countries that you're interested in exporting to. This, again, helps me pull regulations that you might need to consider, market research, things of that nature. And here we ask about any major trade shows that your company currently attends or would like to attend. And similarly, with the notion of having an export business plan, the Missouri International Trade and Investment Office, as well as our federal partners at the U.S. Commercial Service, are in many cases able to offer you meeting services that can help you make the most of your time at trade shows that you're already attending that you might not know about, that are internationally. And help you identify international trade shows that would be good for you to consider. Here we're asking about your product sales growth over the past 3 years. And this, again, just helps us understand where you are in your growth strategy, if you're able to scale, if you've been able to scale, or if there are any hurdles in that process that are kind of stopping you. We're able to kind of dig a little deeper with both of these questions. Here we're asking about your product's current share of the domestic market. Obviously, the U.S. is a very large market, and in many cases, there's opportunities to scale both before you go internationally or simultaneously. Here, we're asking about your product's price competitiveness in the domestic market, and price structuring really changes from market to market. And we want to, be able to understand where you are in your in the domestic market, and that helps us pretty quickly identify, markets that are similar or that have similar buying potential, and if you have the ability in your within your own revenue stores, to offer, different terms for different markets. And here we're asking about payment terms that you would be willing to offer to reputable foreign buyers. And this helps us understand what you would be able to offer, and if you need to pull in any additional financing resources that would help you offer terms in markets that may be more dependent on more liberal terms. Let's see. And then similarly, here we're asking about, does your product compare favorably with domestic competitors as far as features and benefits? And again, this just helps us conduct an analysis of your competitive advantages and how that might translate on the international stage. We do ask about your willingness to adapt your product itself, or even just the packaging, to better suit foreign markets, as this is oftentimes needed when going into foreign markets, like even just exporting to Canada, for example. A lot of times you'll need both English and French on your packaging. That's kind of a basic example, all the way to, if you had electrical components that, have our standard 3-prong electrical outlet here in the US, going into a different market that uses a different electrical system, are you willing to adapt that aspect of your product? If so, that is definitely key. We want buyers to be able to use your product and be able to use it in cases where it's an actual use case issue or if it's a regulatory issue, just getting it in. And so those are things we want to be able to examine and know that you are willing to do. Similarly, understanding the costs that it takes to transport your product over long distances helps us helps us build your costing strategy from the beginning and kind of just understand where you are coming in from the beginning. Then we ask about any special training required to install your product or any special technical support or after sales services, as this helps us identify any in-market needs for your overall strategy for, how are you going to reach people if they have questions about your product? Are you able to do that in multiple languages? If there's any technicalities that need to go to that are in support of your product for market entry, those are all things we want to cover in the beginning. And here, similarly, we're asking about, if your product can tolerate harsh or widely varying environmental conditions. This comes into play when you're talking about shipping your products long distances internationally and also with the warehousing in different markets. And here we ask about, if you have any indirect export experience through any of the following business models. And this just helps us understand, if your product is being shipped indirectly through another, like a piggyback exporter, is your product already in a certain market that you would like to, and we want to know that, and then understand, how that's being marketed in those regions and things of that nature. And here we're just asking about if you're using an export management or trading company, so an entity typically in the U.S. that is helping with all of that. We want to know, who are you working with to kind of understand where you can further leverage them and just understand where your product is internationally. These are some feeder questions that we have that aren't necessarily, like I said, required to export, but definitely help you stand out in the crowd of global suppliers. One of those being a corporate social responsibility strategies. I am certified in corporate social responsibility strategy development. So these are things like how does your company work within the communities that you are involved? What is your environmental impact, things of that nature. And that can go a long way. It varies from market to market, but that can go a long way in helping you not only stand out with the quality of your product, but also speak to the quality of your company and the values that you stand for. This next question is another feeder question, if you will, where this is going into our Trade Adjustment Assistance Center. So if you are a manufacturer that has, with NAICS codes beginning with the ones listed on the screen, you have been impacted by import competition, you may be eligible for some cost savings and strategy development services from our Trade Adjustment Assistance Center program. And this just helps us know if you're interested in that and helps us make that referral quickly. Similarly, as Stella mentioned, both she and I are on our Missouri District Export Council, and that is comprised of trade assistance entities like myself and Stella who work in the trade assistance arena, but then also exporters who are in the trenches, who are doing this every day, who are willing to mentor you. So it's not every case that I can match you up with a mentor, but we are very well connected. And in any cases that we're able to, love to, be able to partner you with someone who can kind of show you the ropes from their lived experience. And then I did not mention this in the beginning, but the Missouri SBDC is a part of the University of Missouri Extension. And so we work very closely with the University of Missouri. And with that, have a number of student opportunities and internships that are available to companies that I'm happy to discuss if you are interested and kind of understand what it is that you would be looking to get out of that and then connect you further. And then finally, our last question on here, I always say, you can't have a healthy bottom line without a healthy workforce. And another really cool organization that is near and dear to my heart is through our Recovery Friendly Workplace program. And this is a substance use disorder support program where out of the University of Missouri that is able to help employers provide support to any of their employees that may be needing assistance with their substance use recovery. And so that is just another feeder question I have at the end to just kind of help spread the word about that program. And again, it just helps you get ready for your international journey by ensuring that your workforce is healthy and is able to do that. So that is a deep dive into our export readiness assessment. I promise that's the longest portion of what I'll be talking about today. But next, I kind of wanted to go into the export strategy development feedback and resources that we are able to provide you. So this is based off of a real company, but I've changed the name. But this really gives you, this is exactly, what you can expect to be looking at. All of the feedback strategies and resources do change depending on how you answer your readiness assessment. But I wanted to give you an overview of kind of what you can expect to get after taking the time to fill out that long form we just went over. So here we go. I kind of jumped around a little bit. So we'll just dive into, sorry, my mouse went a little bit quickly there. So here, going back to that first question that we had gone over in that assessment, and this company answered that they have, just a somewhat of an established and profitable domestic market for their product or service. And so here, I give feedback. I write this feedback. Colleen and I review your assessments together and kind of tailor the feedback based on how you've answered and what different resources we think are applicable to you. But this is kind of what that would look. Oh, darn it. I'm sorry. My mouse is just really happy on this document. But so we gave you kind of initial feedback, some strategy to consider, and then some action items. And then here we really get into some resources. This resource I'll go into once we get into our export business plan, but we partner with an entity called Growth Wheel, and they provide decision sheets, which are essentially like worksheets, like back in your grammar school days, which help you really kind of prompt you to think through different aspects of internationalization and kind of put pen to paper. And it's also a tool that you can kind of start on, take to another team member, work on together. It's not a formal piece, but it's really a worksheet to help kind of get your mind going. And then with the
Leslie,
idea,
I just want to check in. I see the export readiness assessment on my screen.
oh, I'm sorry, you're not, okay. You're not seeing the export strategy development?
No,
Oh, okay. I'm
I
so
can
sorry.
I can share it if need be, but
No, I should be able to, I'm just going to stop share and reshare.
okay.
I don't know, that was a little different. So I know we ran through it and it worked
Yeah, you
then, but
practiced.
I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Okay, are you able to see this?
Yep, I see it now. Great. Thank
Okay, thank you so much, Susan. I would not have known otherwise.
you.
So I'll just revisit the top here. So this is what that feedback will look like. after you complete your assessment, we put together a pretty robust document. This one came out to 21 pages. So like I said, it's a pretty big document. We provide feedback, strategies, and resources, and then we tell you where you can incorporate this ultimately into an export business plan. Like I said, I work on this, Colleen and I work on this together, and it's tailored to how wherever you are in your export journey. So here we go. Now you can kind of see what I was talking about before. And so, like I said, here we talk about the growth wheel decision sheets, and I'll show you examples of those in a little bit. And then here we tell you exactly where to put the information in your export business plan. And then I won't go through all 21 of these pages. You can breathe a sigh of relief for that. But I did just want to give you a little bit of an overview of kind of what some of those resources look like. Again, here we have Growth Wheel, but here's a link to, a page that helps give you more information on choosing a foreign representative. I do like to show an example of the feedback we give for market research. So here this company answered that they sometimes do market research. I provide feedback and some strategy around that. And then here are a bunch of resources for you to consider. So again, I won't go into all of these, but these are some preliminary market research opportunities and resources for you to consider that we can go through in our one-on-one counseling. I should say this whole document, this 21-page document, in this case, we would give to you for your general knowledge to have at any time. But then the idea is that we'll work through this document to scratch off the areas where you're not export ready to make sure you are export ready. And as you can see, with 21 pages of information and accompanying one-on-one consultation, we're able to really give a good sweep to make sure that you are, in fact, export ready. So I won't go through all of these examples, but I will just scroll all the way to the bottom here to show you kind of where we summarize what your next steps would look like and kind of where we go from here. So, I outline next steps for you, kind of immediate next steps. This company was not as far along in their export journey, which is totally fine, but just gives us a good runway of things to work on before moving forward. So one of the next steps in this company's plan that I would show you is, in most cases, companies have not developed an export business plan. And we have based our software off of recommendations from the International Trade Administration. So that's the federal U.S. Commercial Service, International Trade Administration that works to ensure that you are in good shape before going internationally. So sound advice from which we built this. And so I just wanted to kind of highlight that. And then, again, many times we're advising that you work with us in one-on-one consulting to really ensure that you are building that plan and you are export ready. So now I'm going to show you how you would take the information from this feedback form and pull it into your export business planning software. So I'm going to stop share and reshare again, just because I think
okay. And we just have a couple more minutes. We want to leave time for Q&A and our last slide too. So you've got about
okay,
2
perfect.
minutes
I will
more.
be very quick on this then.
Yeah, this information is great, really helpful.
Okay, good. And I am long-winded and can talk to anyone about any of this in our one-on-ones as well. So
Yeah.
this is the Live Plan export business planning software that we have developed. And so this really, if you were to compare that link I just showed on what the International Trade Administration recommends, this is exactly a skeleton of what they recommend. And then we've essentially just added meat to every portion of the plan okay, here we go. You should be seeing, like, this would be, if you were to click on your executive summary, we give you, many things to include in your executive summary and additional resources for you to consider. Some of the resources that I'll talk about or that you'll see here, for example, is one that says developing an export plan tutorial. And this takes you to our trade passport website. Are you able to see this, or do I need to stop and share? Can you see the trade passport site?
Yes, we can see it. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is the Missouri SBDC is a state trade partner with with NASBI International, which is kind of the premier export education and credentialing entity in the U.S. And all of these tutorials are available to Missouri companies. The first 20 of which are available at no cost, and then after that, it's $149 a year, which is still pretty manageable. In my experience, most companies have not needed to exceed 20 tutorials, but they are here for you. So anyway, everywhere that we tell you in that export readiness assessment feedback to, where you can put the information in your export business plan, these are all sections of your export business plan that we have available to you. This is a cloud-based tool, so I would have access to this, Colleen would have access to this, anyone in your company that you would want to have access would have that. And we can pull in, if you had an accountant that you wanted to, or a legal service provider that you wanted to have review, we can also extend access to them as well. This is available to you for free for the first 90 days through the SBDC. And then after that, there is a nominal fee that you would take on if you need it. And Colleen, if you're available to speak a little bit to the financial forecasting that we're able to do in Live Plan, that would be great as well.
Sure, absolutely. So one of the important aspects of your business plan, whether that be this international version or exportation version, or your basic, domestic version of your business plan, forecasting and your financials, of course, are very important. So one of the things that I can work with you on is your financial projections. And that means, really kind of doing the research you need to do within your industry to, especially if you're starting from scratch and you don't have historical sales data and expenses data, then we can kind of, pull together the information that's going to help kind of paint a picture of, what you're looking at. And first and foremost, these forecasts and projections are most important for you, the business owner, to really get a good realistic view of what you can project and what is that going to look like and what kind of funding are you going to need or have. So definitely we can work on your all these different areas, and your financial statements, including your profit and loss, your pro forma balance sheet. That would be if you are starting out new and fresh, it would be a day one balance sheet or wherever you are right now, and then your cash flow statement. So those are your three main financial statements, and then your forecasting would probably be for 3 years out. And if you are going for funding, a bank would expect you to, a bank or an investor would expect you to have at least, 1 year of broken out month-to-month projections, so that then you can also determine and show any seasonality that you expect to have in your revenue and expenses. So we can definitely work on that in our one-on-ones, and kind of review where you would find the information that's going to help support your projections and how in the world do you get those? Because it is always really daunting and seems hard, but there's no right or wrong answer. It's just going to be a really best guess scenario. I know we're going to want to move on, Susan, so I'll
Yeah,
leave it at that.
this is great. I think we've fit in the important information that's there. And Leslie, is there a little bit more on your end then, and we can move to
The
the
only
Q&A?
thing I was just going to show really quickly, if we have time, is the growth wheel worksheets that we use.
Sure.
I'll just do those really quick.
Mhm.
And let's see. No, maybe not as quick. Let's see if it's not. It's not wanting to pull up. I don't know why that is. Let me just check. We can move on. Oh, here we go. It's under, I'm sorry, it's under a different tab. I was going to say we can move on to take questions, but I'll just show you this really quick.
Yeah.
So this is what these growth wheel worksheets look like. Like I said, a lot of times companies just
Looks like
don't know
it's
what they
coming up.
don't know when it comes to exporting. And, so we can walk you through with these worksheets alone are very clarifying. And again, this just gives you a place to put pen to paper to kind of sketch out where you are before formally integrating this into that export business plan. And we have this on all aspects of international trade. So anyway, I will stop sharing and can move on to questions.
Yeah. So we've had essentially the same question. We've had two people ask the same question, which is they really are looking for access to the links that you showed in the sample feedback form. So maybe we can work together on how to provide those links. I don't know whether you typically share that document because it's a sample, right? This document is custom created for each customer, right? When you work with it. I would mention also that the World Trade Center knows most of these resources as well. So if for whatever reason, those of you in the audience if you're not ready to go ahead and work with the SBDC, there are other ways to get at those links, and we would be happy to talk with you and find out what you need. But I think Leslie, we can just work together to find a way, because afterwards we're going to be sending out the recording. We're going to be sending out any other links that were put in the chat. So we can probably share some of those links that way as well. Does that sound good? Okay, great. So remember, folks, to put any questions that you have in the Q&A box. And one of the other questions that came up for me as I was listening to you, well, that's one of the questions right there, actually. Somebody asked, are there any costs associated with any of these services? So why don't you just ask that one, and then I'll ask my question.
Sure. There's no cost to work with the SBDC. Like I said, the only cost would be if you were to exceed the 90 days of your live plan subscription, then there is a cost. I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. It's pretty nominal, but that is something that if you want to make sure you're hitting the ground running, we can work on, those worksheets first before inputting it into your plan and make sure that, you're getting the most out of those 90 days. And then the only other cost is with that trade passport site, if you were to exceed the 20 webinars. But other than that, consulting with myself and Colleen is at no cost to you.
Thank you. And I should say it's also the case working with the World Trade Center. We can provide services to everyone. We do have a membership opportunity, and there are benefits, of course, to becoming a member, but you do not have to become a member to work with us at World Trade Center. The question that I had was, the readiness form is very lengthy. So if somebody were to get partway through it and save it and try to come back to it later, is there anything they would have to do? Or I guess if they how do they save it? Do you know?
That is a great question.
Okay.
What I'm going to say off the top of my head is you could always submit it and then we can work through it in chunks. Because I don't know if you can save it or not. But it's no problem. There's only a few required questions. And so if there are some that you leave blank, that's okay.
Okay, great. I'm glad I asked then. Um, okay, so at what revenue point should a business start considering international trade?
That is a good
It depends,
question.
right?
It really kind of depends from company to company, and kind of what your goals are. I'm not going to give a hard answer there because there isn't exactly one. It's kind of you would figure that out as we're kind of going through all of the costs and everything that makes sense for your company. So I'm sorry, I don't have a direct answer there.
Yeah, and just a reminder that anyone, as you said, anyone can complete the readiness assessment, and that might help you be able to answer that question. Speaking of that, I think there's another link that Stella can share in the chat, which is if somebody wants to get started with the SBDC, you've got it's a federal program, right? So you have to fill out some paperwork to begin with. So I think Stella will be able to put that link in the chat if somebody wants to kind of get started on it. Um, there is a question here that I don't think we have time for, but I'm just going to read it out loud, which is how should we think about the tariff policies by the current administration? I think that's a subject that World Trade Center has tried to address through various webinars and topics and things like that. Um, Whoever that is that posted the question, feel free to reach out to us and we can try to help you with some of that. Um, and then otherwise, a question, Leslie, that you had thought would be a good one to put out there. Is there one place that somebody should start with first among all those readiness factors to address?
Yeah, that management commitment is all, if you don't have that, you're never going to be able to go. I would never suggest that you go internationally without getting consent from the
Mhm.
boss. So, if you're really passionate about going internationally, but if you don't have that, like I said, we can work to kind of build that pitch. But you're always going to want to have that, before anything else.
Great. Okay, well, thank you so much. I think that's all we've got time for in terms of questions. But I wanted to remind everyone that at the conclusion of the webinar, you will see a survey that will appear in your browser. We would really appreciate your feedback on this presentation and then also your thoughts on any future topics that you'd like to learn more about. And then I think Stella will be putting up a slide just talking about the next event in our series, our Engage in Trade series. You can look for in January, we always have an economic outlook, a global economic outlook. That date still has to be determined. But in December, which is actually just coming up the week after Thanksgiving, very excited to feature our own St. Louis Mosaic Project, Executive Director Suzanne Sierra, and a guest from True Manufacturing in O'Fallon, Missouri. You will hear a true story of how they began hiring local foreign-born employees and sort of the accommodations that they found that they had to make. But it led to not only solving the problem of finding enough workers, but it yielded some amazing side benefits that really affected the entire organization for the better. So I'm very excited to hear firsthand about the things that they've gone through. And this webinar would be appropriate for HR folks and anybody that's trying to, a mid-sized company that's got workforce challenges. You will be surprised that there are hoops that you don't have to jump through in order to hire some of our foreign-born local employees. So with that, I want to wish everyone a wonderful rest of your day and thank you for your attention. And we will be back soon with the next webinar. And thanks again, Leslie and Colleen.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.